Since you have worked in different countries, so can you tell us some common factors and something that is, very special about, some countries? For example, in Japan.
Japan, I can say that, it is a good combination of Asian culture and Western technology.
Okay. You mentioned something about R&D. So, would like to know your views. In India, I don't think it is given much importance. So, what do you think? Are you of the same opinion? And what should be done, you feel? So you spent 3 years doing the research and you must have received PhD degree also. What happened after that?
In 3 years' time, I completed all my PhD work, written, everything is trial. But the interesting story was, there was a crack in the ice, there was a success story in the research. Generally, research is carried out, like 2 plus 2 is 3.99 or 4.01. I was aiming 2 plus 2 is 5. Oh. Yeah, and that was a very, because the product I'm talking about, the slag, never ever used anywhere in the world. And it was dumped all over the world. And the slag is one of the byproduct of steel making, which is 10 to 15%. So imagine, say for example, in India produces currently 100 million tons of steel. So 15 million tons,
my God,
it's mountains all over. I mean, you go to Durgapur, you go to Jamshedpur, you go to Bhilai,
this is per year you're talking about?
Yeah.
Per year.
Now India is, every year we are producing for the last 50 years.
My God.
And our Niti Ayog, we have just reviewed it and we just recommending our Indian government is going to produce it, 300 million tons in next 5 to 10 years. Now, if that's the case, what we will do about the waste product?
Right.
And that was the case back in 1992. And that is what my research is about. So when I realized it, I done some actually work, build little roads within the plant. It was a success story. So obviously, when in 93, government of Australia decided to build additional runway in the ocean. I approached Federal Airport Corporation, one of the government agency at that time, saying that how about using the slag there?
Okay.
Now, anywhere, like any new material is not accepted.
Change is not accepted.
Change is not accepted. It is the same case. If your mother is doing something and if you wanted to do something different, it's never ever been accepted. Right. But that was the case. It's the common human being, But I never give up. I said, okay, you ask me any questions, I will answer it.
Sorry to interrupt, but this was during the PhD?
Yeah, during the PhD. In fact, I took third runway as a case study, as a part of my PhD work. Oh. And then yes, no. And then I answered all the questions and they said, okay, you stand on the site and prove it. So I done the trials on the site and that was also a trial. Success. Oh. Then again, they said, okay, we will use your product, but we want you to be on the site all the time.
Oh.
All the time. I said, yeah, sure. So it's benefited to my innovations, benefited to my company. And apart from benefits, the entire world was benefited by using the waste product in the infrastructure by saving natural materials or natural resources. That was the, like one of the top I can see is the success of my PhD or my research work. So 93, I built a runway and even today is working very well. So it's not something like, and not only that.
I'm tempted to compare it with Indian roads, but I'm stopping myself.
No. And then not only the airport, then I approached the local road building authorities saying that could we use the slag and there was no challenge because hey, at that time the biggest aircraft was 747. I said 747 is landing on this material. Why don't you use for highways? And it just continued. You won't believe by 2012, 35 million tons of waste product is used at right infrastructure location, and at this, that means the 35 million tons of natural material is saved.
What an achievement!
That is what I was targeting, and now you won't believe, the big mountains are not there anymore, and in fact, it's rationing now. Vijay, can I get one truck? Can I get one truck?
Right.
The table changed. Yes, it's absolutely changed in Australia. And of course, during that process, when I completed my first draft of PhD in 1995, at that time there was no Google as such, So, but educational system was connected, university was connected, steel industry were connected. So, Japanese steel industry came to know this success story, and then the Japanese government requested me to come down to Japan as their advisor, and that was my postdoctorate work also. So, postdoctorate research I carried out again the slag. As an advisor to the government of Japan. So I was there in 95 to 97. I spent a couple of years there, came back to Australia, then finished my PhD, because there was some comma was missing.
Some administrative.
Yeah. So that is finished, and then formally my 97, first or 2nd of October is a formal convocation took place, but by that time I'd completed even my postdoctorate work. So all you can see is that all out of box,
So you stayed there in Japan for these 2-3 years?
Yeah, not 3 years, 2 years. Yes. And my job was to visit all the steel plants, what they do, how best they can do, and utilize this product. Suggest things, how about this? And because by that time I had a good hang on this product, so use it, and they did it. So it was a success story there again in Japan too. And in 97 I came back. My company's VP who was sitting in the US, he realized it. Oh my God, we have a guy who is been invited there. So till that moment, the company didn't bother, the slag was being sold and that's it, But they said, no, let's get him in the corporate world. And then they transferred me to US. So I worked in 3 years in the US.
So after Japan, then you went to US?
Yes. But going from Sydney weather to going to the Detroit weather, I was very much reluctant. So I made a deal with the company saying that I will come down there only maybe, only 6 to 8 times in a year. But 6 to 8 times in a year from Sydney to Detroit, 15 hours of flight, and then you work there. No driver, so you have to drive opposite side of the road. Plus, but that's fine, So I worked like this for 3 years.
So those were like short duration trips or like
like
days?
2 weeks. 2 weeks. Just go there and see what's going on. And suggest, but I used to travel again in the US, come back again, because my Australian assignment, selling the slag was more critical, So that's how the career was up to year 2000.
And since you have worked in different countries, so can you tell us some common factors and something that is, very special about, some countries, for example, in Japan? So
Japan,
in terms of culture or any other thing that you would like to mention? In terms of corporate, sorry to interrupt.
Japan, I can say that, it is a good combination of Asian culture and Western technology. Yes, sir, it's still the culture, what we have here in India. But in Western world, they have the long-term vision. I went to one of the steel plant called Kawasaki steel plant there. And the research they were carrying out, using the plastic in the asphalt, And I said, like, the data which you are collecting, oh my God, it will take another 30 years. Then there was a simple answer, so what? I mean, look at this, I said here,
not bothered.
30 years, okay, so what? I mean, here we do not spend money at all in the research. And even though we spend it, we said, hey, there is no research departments here. Or whatever you have the funding there, they said, no, we want result tomorrow.
Right. And that won't happen.
Yeah, that would. I mean, so that's a different vision. Japanese have, and I had a good experience about it. The Australia, the work culture there, because in terms of the labor, it's expensive, but that's a country's rule. You have to follow those guidelines, So obviously, the production. There is no production as such because a lot of good resources are there. So we have the iron ore, we have the bauxite, aluminum. So obviously, coal. So you sell those sort of raw products to the various countries and you make the money. So it's a different, altogether different scenarios, in terms of the production, in terms of the culture, in terms of so in the US, they have the both way. Like in terms of the Canada, I do provide some consultancy in Canada too. So in Canada, they have the good market because the 300 million people, which is US, is there next door. But that is not the case, in Australia. Australia has 30 billion people, but the nearest country is about 8 hours of flight.
Right.
So,
it's isolated.
So where you will produce it and where you will sell it, So that is just something, different scenario, different boundary conditions are there. So, but transparency is a common.
Okay.
Whatever they say, the job is done just because of that trust. So that's, I find, different. If there is a meeting taking place at 9 a.m., people, they do come there 8:55. There is no time, no delay there in terms of the timing. Secondly, whatever the minutes points are previously reviewed.
Okay.
And the guy is not that, I called this morning and the guy did not respond. The meeting took place 1 month before, Why the hell you called him this morning, So that's the difference, in terms of the management, in terms of the scenarios of various differences between the management style. So, in fact, I'm appearing another TV interview tomorrow in the Ferguson College there in Pune. So, my topic is again, in the management style, and I'm going to share this sort of similar examples there.
Sure. Okay. So, since you mentioned something about R&D, so would like to know your views. In India, I don't think it is given much importance. So what do you think? Are you of the same opinion? And what should be done, you feel?
The R&D, when I was carrying out the R&D, I used to ask my customer, what is your requirement too?
Okay.
And accordingly, you design your R&D work. So that when I produce the work, it should not happen that, we didn't know this.
Right.
And then again you start from the scratch and you're 3 years gone. Right? So they say, for my example, when I was trying the material for the airport, they said, okay, it should be crushed within this limit during the process.
Okay.
I said, okay, fine. So what I did, instead of aircraft, I used 100 tons big trucks and I checked the material. Okay. And during the checking, it was not me. I invited my customer who is going to use my product.
Oh, right.
So that interface is it's always not that you complete the research and then you go to the government department saying that I've done it, and then they ask the question, have you done this? No. First, then the researcher asks, do you require this? Yes. Sure. because Baba Adam ki zamane se chal raha hai. So that is not the case.
That is not
You have to open the boxes, think out of box, and ask your customer, what you are expecting from this one.
Right.
And accordingly, you carry out the research.
Perfect.
So that was well integrated within all the stakeholders, saying, and so that is why the success stories are there in the Western world.
So you were talking about success stories in Western countries, and there is one success story who is sitting just in front of me.
Oh, thanks, Deepa. Thanks.
You are the first Indian-born Order of Australia awardee in technology field, right? So would like to know more about how did it happen and how did you feel?
And feeling, of course, very proud moment.
Right.
I received the email from Prime Minister of Australia saying that we are offering Order of Australia to Sachin Tendulkar for his cricket contribution.
Right.
Sir, Vijay, Joshi, could you please spare a time and come to India with us and to be part of that event,